Hey, what's up everybody? Welcome back. Brandon again. Want to make a quick video intro to the video I'm about to share, which was uploaded originally by David Dennis of Gorilla Strength Equipment based out of Kentucky. Now, David does equipment work all the time, and he really gives some good insight into welds, which I found super educational, and I hope you will too, which is one of the reasons why I wanted to share it. And I'll link all of his information in the description box below if you want to check out his company or his YouTube channel.
Friends, I get asked this all the time. Here's a picture of my equipment. Here's a picture of my welds. What will it hold? So last night, a fellow sent me a picture of some welds and things, and he asked me. He asked me what it would hold, and there's a joke along that. If you take a weld fabricator or a welding engineer and you ask them what it'll hold, you can tell someone what a weld will hold if it is a proper weld. But if it's not a proper weld, what the thing will hold is anyone's guess. You just don't know because it's not good. It's like licking a turd. If you lick a turd and ask somebody, is that going to make me sick? I don't know, maybe. So it definitely ain't as safe as drinking water.
And that's what I call high-quality H2O. Oh!
But if you drink a bottle of pure water and somebody says, will that make me sick? Well, not unless you've got some strange illness. And that's the same thing with welding. If a weld is properly done, then you can estimate reliably what that weld will hold. If it's not a properly done weld, it's like licking a dog turd. Is it going to make you sick? Who knows? And so I set that up over here today. The gentleman sent me a picture of a weld that's done like this. If you'll look very closely, there's some undercut. And in his picture, you can see a line at the base of the weld where the paint didn't take. And that's because in that base right there, you get some oxidation. At toe of the weld, you get some oxidation. You get a place that doesn't clean very well. And it's a sign of a cold weld. He also sent me a picture on the same piece of equipment with some porosity in a weld. That's where you get your shielding gas isn't properly shielding the weld, so the weld interacts with the environment, with other elements in the atmosphere, and a catalyst to a lot of reactions that you get is electricity or heat or both, and you have both of those in a weld, so you have to have an inert gas that shields the weld, that keeps those atmospheric components away from your weld. Otherwise you get these pockets of gas builds up in the weld itself. The weld solidifies, trapping the pockets of gas, or they bubble through the weld. It's commonly known as porosity. And then this is a weld I laid down with pulse MIG. So this is going to be the weld that we use for what a proper weld should look like versus these two. This is definitely informal, and I will do a more formal version of this probably in the future where we do some etching. But everybody out there that looks at a weld says, oh, it'll hold. And that's what this guy, people send me pictures because they don't want the armchair warriors on the internet to say, oh, shut up, kid. That thing's welded good. That's an ugly weld, but it'll hold more than you can do, you cupcake. So, I'm holding the camera one-handed here, guys. Didn't want to wake the wife or kid up, so no tacks or anything on the back. So we're just going to pull with this hand. There's the weld that's too cold. See how much energy it takes. Hey, not much at all. Now, what you're going to see is that the base metal, it didn't have enough heat to fuse into the base metal. There's no groove cut into that metal. There's no fusion. It's because it was too cold. The weld looks kind of thick, but it didn't. There's no penetration in the root of the weld, which is where the two metals being fused together or joins, or the toes. So that's what you got with that. No fusion. So let's get the one. So how much pressure does it take to bend that over? Well, guess what? Nobody freaking knows. And that's going to be the same way with the one. This one, I suspect this one will actually be worse than the one that is cold. And whenever you have a machine doing these, it's actually a little bit better. Oh, it's not as bad. So the porosity, and that's what you want. You want to see it bend over. So the porosity did bend the metal, but with the porosity like that, you don't have a uniformness in your fusion, so you really don't know what it's going to do. So that, yeah, and then it will break catastrophically whenever it does break. So, yeah, you don't want to be the dude underneath that. And last, this weld should just fold over the metal. Use the leg for this. Now this should have just ripped the steel. See how it just ripped the steel? Because it stayed fused, and that's what you want. You want a weld that is going to tear the steel and be stronger than what it's fused to. If you can look, if you see here, the metal itself yielded, but the weld didn't break. So the weld isn't the weakest part of this structure in a properly welded thing. The fused metal is. So this one, the weld sheared, it broke because of the porosity. This one didn't have fusion. And this one tore the metal. So that's what, that's kind of what the deal is with welding, and that's kind of why it's important. Also, if you're looking at a machine, so if you are relying on a machine to robotics to weld, it will produce the same really poor weld continually, and a lot of times that won't make it through the quality check. So the QC department, if there is one, especially with overseas manufacturers, it'll turn out every bench for a day or two or three, so you could have hundreds and hundreds of items with really a whole batch of really poor welded items. And it's something that, you know, once it makes it to the shores, then, you know, it's already here. So if you've got a piece of equipment that looks like it has cold welds or welds with porosity in them, then, you know,